Thank you. Okay, that goes. I hope everybody's hearing me. Maybe that means it wasn't. I don't know. Okay. If for some reason you can't hear me, 1 second.
We hear you, Rebbe. Rebbe's perfect.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you hear me. I wish I were perfect, but okay, whatever. So during Hanukkah, we said that Hanukkah, Neiros Hanukkah comes before almost everything because of Pirsumei Nisa, the mitzvah of Pirsumei Nisa, except for if you have one Ner for Shabbos, it's Shabbos on Hanukkah, Shabbos Hanukkah, you have one Ner. It could either be a Shabbos Ner or a Hanukkah Ner. He said it has to be a Shabbos Ner. Why? What happened to Pirsumei Nisa? Shalom Bayis, Odif. Shalom Bayis comes first. That's the importance of Shalom Bayis. Mind-boggling. So we're going to talk a little bit tonight, Be'ez Hashem, about Shalom Bayis. A little bit about Shalom Bayis. Now, the Rambam in Hilchas Ishus. So the Rambam, Perek Tes Vav Halacha Yotes, says, V'chein sivu chachamim. The chachamim have commanded us, Shiur Odam Mechabed Es Ishto Yoseh Migufo. You should honor your wife more than yourself. V'ahava, and you should love her kegufo, as much as you love yourself. That's what the Rambam says. Now, this is a Gemara in Yevamis, Samad Beis, Amid Beis, and it's a Gemara also in Sanhedrin. A Gemara in Sanhedrin. And I just want to tell you that the Gemara in Sanhedrin is everything that, this is everything that a Jewish home is about. This particular Gemara in Sanhedrin is on the base. You love your wife as yourself.
When Rebbe looks away, we can't hear Rebbe.
Okay, I'll try not to. If you love your wife as yourself, if you honor her more than yourself, and you instruct and you guide your children in the right way, the derech yashar, the straightforward way. So it says about that a little bit more. And you get them married off as whenever you can, when they're ready for it, mature enough. Hashem says, I know, right? Yadata, you should know, you'll know that your tent, your home will be b'shalom. You'll be peaceful, harmony, beautiful, kind of home that you want. Upekarata nevecha, and your naveh, your dwelling will be good. And there won't be chetoim. So this is mamish. This is the formula for Shalom Bayis. It's a formula for a good home. Having Shalom Bayis in your home and working with your children that they should go on a derech of Yasher. Do that, and you're going to have a very, very special home. And that's what we're here for. So that's the Gemara in Sanhedrin. Yes. Now, what I want to try to understand, I just noticed something over here. And the Gemara says, "Our ohev ishto kegufo, v'mechabda yosef megufo." And you heard me say the Rambam, the Shiur Adam mechabed es ishto Yosef Mikiv Gufo, Va'ava Kegufo. Do you see something over there? Come on, you guys, you're all Danim. You see something there. The Rambam switched the order. In the Gemara, it says, Taner Rabbanan, Ohev Ishto Kegufo. First, he has to love his wife like himself and to honor her more than himself. And the Rambam in Hilchas Ishus changes the order. That the Adam should be Machabed as Ishto Yosef Migufo, and he should Lava Kegufo. I don't know, there might be someone there saying something, but I don't hear. It's a good question. Why does the Rambam do that? Now, the Rambam is always Lemaisa. It could be the Gemara is telling us the Cheshivas. First, what you have to do is to love your wife. Love your wife as you love yourself. And then you should honor her, protect her, even more than you would yourself. We'll explain that in a while. The Rambam is telling us Lemaisa. Lemaisa, if you give your wife the honor that she deserves more than Gufo, only then will you be able to honor her Kegufo. If you give her way above and beyond the honor that she deserves, so if you do that, that will help you achieve to reach the love that we're talking about. We're not talking about infatuation. We're not talking about, we're talking about the real deep love that's shaykh only after years of marriage, probably. And, and there are exceptions, but we're talking about the real love. So maybe that's the pshat. I would like to hear from you fellows if you have a chance to think it over, and maybe you have a better pshat. Okay, now there's a mitzvah very similar to this, and that's the mitzvah of Ve'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. I mean, this is the real Ve'ahavta l're'echa kamocha, even though it brings a different pasuk. But this is the real Ve'ahavta l're'echa to your wife, right? But there, the Rambam adds, how do you do it? Lefikach, therefore, the Rambam says, Sarek l'sape b'shvacha. You've got to praise her. You got to tell about her attributes. You got to praise her. And the more you internalize her attributes, the more you understand and appreciate her attributes, you've got to continuously seek to praise her.
Praise her to her or to other people?
Mostly to her, but certainly in front of her to other people. Right? I was talking about you have to praise her, I think would be to her. Right? Okay? A good trait, a good deed, you have to praise her. Now, I want to tell you something, right? We know, it's one of the facts of life, that men and women are different. Baruch Hashem. Men and women are different. I know you're going to tell me men are from Mars and women are from Venus. I don't know which is which. I forgot already, right? I don't know the difference either between Mars and Venus, except that Mars is closer to the Earth than Venus is. Yeah, if I remember correctly. But there's a difference there. There's a very, very deep difference. Besides the fact we have different roles in life. We have totally different roles in life. And Hashem made our bodies. This is mind-boggling, You see the hand of Hashem. This could be chance. A guy has to be absolutely insane and crazy to believe this could be chance. The man has all the things he needs for his role, and the woman all the things that she needs for her role in life, right? But it's different, right? Now, not only that, the bodies
Hello?
are different, right? The bodies are different.
Hello? Hello, this is the locksmith. Can you hear me? Hi, this is the locksmith. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
Good, thank you. We got a work order. It says you need to get a key made for your office. Is somebody in the office having an issue?
Somebody is there, is talking to somebody. It's and it's Mama's coming right
I
across it. from
How many
everybody.
people need the key in there?
Please stop talking about the key. We're
Okay,
talking about the
what's
key
the
to
what's the
to
office
marriage
number?
and all right.
4-010.
Do you know who? If
Address? Where,
can you see who that's coming
2004-010?
from and give him a message to turn off his to mute himself. Okay. Yeah. So men and women are different. Not just bodies, but emotional and intellectual systems are the men are different, right? And this could very easily cause friction, right? If she has a whole different way of thinking, a whole different emotional system, appreciating things and not appreciating things, right? So that could make a lot of difficulty in getting along. But it could easily lead to friction. But if we know what the differences are and we are aware of them, then that's one way to avoid the friction, right? And there's one thing we have to understand, and this is the focal foundation of Shalom Bayis. We have to understand this, right? Men have the world they're in. They're working. They have their work. Bez Hashem. They're involved in politics, right? They're involved in what's going on in the nation, right? What's going on in the world. A woman has her home, her husband, her children, her home. Of course, she may be very knowledgeable and she may not be involved, but still the fundamental emphasis and empathy of her personality, that is her home. And that's so important to remember. It's so important, right? We come back from our work. I come back from the yeshiva, right? And our mind is involved in some of the problems and challenges of the workplace, right? And we have to gear ourselves. Okay, now we're going into the home, and in the home, my wife is first and foremost concerned with the home. And even though I'll explain to her and I'll tell her stories, and that doesn't make a difference. The most important thing is the home. And we have to always be aware of that, right? And we have to acknowledge all the work that she does. Now, one thing is for sure, right? If a person does you a favor, you have to show gratitude. That's derech eretz. That's simple derech eretz. A person does you a favor, you have to show gratitude, right? But when it comes to your wife, you have to literally shower her with praise, right? And by the way, she deserves it, right? No matter how much we praise our wives, it's not enough in consideration of what our wives do for us in the home, for us as people, right? It's not enough. So you're not inventing praise. You don't have to invent praise, but you have to praise your wife. You have to I hope my wife isn't listening. You have to praise your wife. And you have to articulate it. And you have to make sure that she appreciates how much you appreciate her. That's very, very important. Right? And I'm talking about invented praise. Because I said, it's there. You're not inventing it. You don't have to invent anything, right? But you have to work on being aware of it. That's the problem. We have too many things on our mind. We have too many other priorities. We're not aware of all the things our wives do for us and are for us. Shalom Bayis doesn't come by itself. Doesn't come, okay, I'm going to work on Shalom. You have to work on it. You really have to work on it. There was a story in what's the book? The River, the Kettle, and the Bird, right? A very, very special book. Uh-oh, what happened? Here we are. I'm sorry. The River, the Kettle, and the Bird. You have to know who wrote it. It's very, very important. Rav Aaronfeld in the Rosh Hashiva from near Israel, the Rav of Atlanta, I think. Right, very, very chashuva, very chashuva. Yeah. So he wrote it, and so he tells over there of a story of a fellow that came for help. He had problems. He had domestic problems. He had problems in Shalom Bayis. He came to a psychologist to ask for help. He needed help. So the counselor asked him. He said, "Tell me something. What do you discuss with your wife? What's your conversation like with your wife?" So he says, "Oh, with that, I'm very good. That's not a problem. I'm very good. When we sit down at dinner, right? I said, I don't waste my time in idle chat. I don't stop converse, right? I do much more than that. I do much more than that. I get right to the point. I tell her all the things that I think she did wrong that day, what she could have done better that day, what she did wrong that day. I don't waste any time." He didn't need very much of a counselor. Anybody who would hear that would know immediately that that is itself the cause of the lack of Shalom Bayis. And instead, and he, of course, what the counselor told him, instead of emphasizing and focusing on her faults, focus on her positive things, what she did positive today, how much I see that you cleaned up the house beautifully, right? The children were dressed so great today. I left things on the sofa last night. I was just too tired, and everything is put in its right place today. Thank you so much. You have to be observant. We have to be observant Jews. We have to be observant Jews. We have to be observant and appreciate all the things that our wives do for us, right? And we have to tell them about it, right? But and he also told them, which is a very, very good eitzah, that besides talking about that kind of subject, which could be a weighty subject, you need friendly chatter to make her feel a little bit comfortable, to make her feel happy, to make her feel relaxed. That's so important. Don't forget that. Okay.
May I please ask a question, Rabbi?
Yes, please.
Yaakov Elievsky here. Nice to see the Mosh.
Hi, Yaakov.
Now, the Rav was going deep into this inyan from the baseline reality that man goes out into the world and a woman's home base is in the house. And it was very practical to hear the hadracha for a man and how to maintain shalom bayit and develop a relationship and show appreciation. But for a lot of us folk who went to Neveh and just living in a modern world, whether you're Neveh or you're not, most women work these days. we're not. Most of us aren't yeshivish guys in this chat, and even if we are kola guys, it's very common that women are working, and if I do the math, my wife is very engaged with her 9 to 5 and giving her all, and she comes home and she's super spent, and she does an excellent job upbringing my kids and holding together the family with all the typical things that Yiddish mamas do. But there's got to be some. It seems to me as if maybe there's a variable now, and this dynamic may have changed, could have possibly changed. I don't know, the original
Saying,
notion.
I really bevoured what you're saying, and I know that in certain situations, many situations today, that women are out there in the workforce and so forth, and etc. But if you go beneath this service when she comes home, and what is really crucial to her, it's the home. Now, you have some that just get so involved in the workforce that the home becomes second place, and that could be harmful, not only to Shalom Bayis but to children also. In other words, if many that do work on, so they have a little bit of both. They're very talented today, and they have both. But if they neglect their role and the natural instinctive. It's in their personality, it's in their character. So if they neglect that, they're going to harm their relationship with their husband and the home, etc., etc. So I'm just talking about what is you have to read how it relates to you and your family. You have to work on that. But I think in many cases, even if the wives are working, it's still their first and foremost is the home. Okay, so
how does a man prepare himself or ready himself or better himself at helping his wife or this the matzav overall if he sees that his wife's job is carrying into her performance in the home?
So then they have to sit down. They have to sit down and really talk it out. And if the husband shows himself so much importance and praises her for whatever she does in the home, and if he can give her a feeling of to him how important the home is, that will help influence her. But sometimes you need consultation. Sometimes but that's an issue that needs to be worked on. There's an issue which needs to be worked on. But the more that you are machshi and you saw the significance of the home to her, and that you realize it, that the more that she's going to, have the right relationship and the right balance, right focus, right. Okay, now I'll tell you, I came home today. And I told, yeah, you're right. The husband has to step up. Okay. I came home today and, I sat down with my wife and I told her something which happened on Shabbos. It was a very interesting thing. I'll make it very short. I'm going to, a boy came to yeshiva not that long ago. And he's a boy that is just now beginning to keep Shabbos mostly or somewhat, right? And one of the Rebbes, right? He also has a business he's very involved in, and he seeks out. I don't understand the whole thing, and it's not necessary, but he has to find people who are clients and they give him what they need for on the line, whatever it might be. And so he was using until he came to Neveh, he was using Saturday and Sunday, people are home and people have time, and he was using that to to get more of these clients and so forth. And And so his Rebbe suggested, listen, I'm not going to tell you you should put away your phone. You should, but I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to ask you one thing. How about this Shabbos not doing business, just business, right? If you want to find the scores, if you want to look up this story, that's okay, but not to do business on Shabbos. And he agreed. And it wasn't so easy for him. I understood. It wasn't so easy for him. But he didn't do business on Shabbos. 2 hours. He came and told me this today. 2 hours after Shabbos, he gets a call from somebody who has a huge working. It just mind-boggling. It just doubled his input. And this person eventually said, after talking to him, said, maybe I'll come a partner with you. And, it could have doubled his income, right? And it's an amazing opportunity. And and he's convinced. You know why it happened? Because he went out of the way not to do business on Shabbos. So we talk about things, right? But still, the most important thing to the wife is the home. And they tell a story that when I think it was who was it? One of the Gedolim, when before he came home, Shlomo Zalman and Orbach maybe, before he came home, Shlomo Zalman, he would strain out his tie, right? Now, the whole day, I guarantee you, in the yeshiva, right? The Gedolim and even some of us, we're not going to look at our ties. We're not going to think about them. We have many things on our mind, right? But before you're going home, yeah. Now he did it because he's going to visit not just his wife, but the Shechina that's with his wife and his home. That's a gadol, right? If we do it because we want our wives to see us in our best possible, I don't know if you can see my tie, right? But in the best possible appearance, right? Because we know that that's important. That's good also. That's also good. All right. Now, so how do you honor somebody more than yourself? How do you honor somebody more than yourself? I think that's a serious question. How can you honor somebody more than yourself? Right? I understand to love yourself, right? To love another person as much as you love yourself. That means that anything that you enjoy, anything that you would like, anything that you want to have happen, anything you want to do, right? So you would like to do it yourself, you do it for her. That's to love her as yourself. You do it for her, okay? But how do you honor? So I was thinking about this today. There are many things, let's say they bother me. Somebody said something which was insulting. Somebody wasn't considerate. Somebody put their interests before others. It bothered me, but I don't have time for such things. I go right on. Life has to go on. You don't pay attention to it, right? But if that happens to your wife, you have to be sensitive about it. You have to acknowledge it. You have to understand it bothers her, right? You have to see to it that she gets the honor that she deserves more than you see to it that you get the honor that hopefully you also deserve, right? You have to go out of your way. That I think is Pashut Pshat. More, yeah. You know, but this Shalom Bayis, it doesn't come by itself. It takes a lot of work. Well, I just want to tell you a story. You may have heard this before. It's good to hear it again, right? There was a couple. They had no children for many years. They wanted so much to have children, right? Also, there wasn't much money. He worked, he did his best, but he wasn't bringing in too much money. And a lot of things they saved up for Shabbos. When Shabbos comes, they would have, comparatively a feast, right? So one Shabbos, he comes home and he sees beautiful, the table is set, and he sits down and he starts singing, and his wife starts walking in. She's walking in. She had a whole big tray, and on the tray was everything they had. The soup, whatever they had for Shabbos. It wasn't as much maybe as we have, and but it was what she had saved up, what they saved up for the whole week, and it was a beautiful spread, right? And she comes walking in, and she slips and falls. The tray falls out of her hands, smashes on the floor. The soup out on the floor. There's very, very little food that everything was ruined. Everything was ruined. And she immediately started crying. How's her husband going to tell her now? She took everything that they had saved for Shabbos, and it's all ruined. It's all ruined. What's her husband going to tell her now? And he immediately understands her feelings and her situations. And he was singing Eishes Chayil. So he starts singing again, Eishes Chayil. And he says, he kept on singing Eishes Chayil. And he says, Bar Yolam, I have such an Eishes Chayil. Thank you for the beautiful and special Eishes Chayil which I have. She did so much. She does so much to make Shabbos special. He said, and Bar Yolam, why should this Eishes Chayil have the children that can praise her? As we say in Eishes Chayil, right? That they can praise her. They can tell her praise. Why should she have it? And he starts talking to Hashem. He says, Hashem, she does so much for the home. She does so much for me. She does so much for everyone. Why shouldn't she have children to be able to appreciate her? And she stopped crying, and she gets up and she sits down at the table. And they have challahs left, right? And they eat their challahs and they sing. And they have a beautiful Shabbos meal with not much to eat. That night, he has a dream. The husband has a dream. His father comes to him in a dream and says, son, I want you to know something. When you start singing Eishes Chayil, and you spoke the praise of your wife after she smashed and broke everything that was for Shabbos, he says that went straight up to the Shemayim, 7 Rekiyim, to Kisei HaKodesh. They went all the way up there. They went all the way up there. And the Malachim were singing with you. The angels were singing with you. He says, I want to tell you something. Apiderech HaTeva, you were not destined to have children. You were not destined to have children. But it made such an impression, the Shemayim, the Barei said, they're going to have children. They're going to have children. 9 months later, their first son was born. I think they had 8 children. They had children. They had children. What do I learn from such a story? Everything we do here, Shemayim knows about it. We daven. I think I shared this with a lot of fellows before. when we daven to Hashem, at one point in davening, we could be a gadol. I put in, I says, Hashem, I know, I'm trying to daven with kavana. I'm trying to do a few good things in my life, right? I have many inadequacies. I have many shortcomings, but I'm trying to do. Hashem, I know you love me more than I can even love myself. You want me to be successful. You want me to do all the things I need to do. You want it even more than I want it for myself. Thank you, Hashem, for being with me. And I continue davening. But it's a different davening. It's a different davening. Okay. So, yeah. I just want to end with one story. Do I have time for a story? I want to end with one story.
Rabbi, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
So it's interesting you're talking about how do you respect someone more than yourself, but on the topic of respecting your parents, the Torah is pretty explicit, telling you understands that it's difficult to honor someone else more than yourself. But on the subject, which is the most important part of a Jewish experience, getting married, having a family, the Torah seems to be pretty silent on what to do with, how to interact with your spouse.
The truth is that a lot of this, how to give honor to your wife, a lot of these things should come naturally if you are a person that's not an egotist. If you're not too self-centered, a lot of these things will come and you'll realize it yourself, right? But it could be it could be in many different periods and tekufas. These things were more obvious, etc. And when they're not, then the Chachamim, the Chachamim have to bring it to our knowledge and make us aware of it, right? But a lot of these things are what I'm saying is not big chedushim. They're just things that we don't think about, we don't dwell on, right? That's how I would answer your question. Now, let me just say the story is getting a bit late. Let me just say, end up with this story. It's a story taken from one of the Maggid books, one of the great Maggid books, right? What happens was this guy comes home with guests on a Friday night on Shabbos. He comes home and he comes to the table and he sees that his wife probably was very busy, and maybe the children gave whatever it was. There was the challah board and the challah dekel was on the board, but there was no challahs, right? The candles, everything was right. The kiddush was there, the wine was there, but there was no challahs, right? So he got very upset. You're embarrassing me in front of my guests. Where are the challahs? Where are the challahs? I brought guests home. This is the first time you made Shabbos? You don't know how to make Shabbos? He gave it to her. And the irony of it is, if he knew what he was talking about, he would have realized that this was not what to say. Because why do we cover the challahs? Why do we cover the challahs? What's the deep mystery behind covering the challahs? It's very simple. Normally speaking, the bread of staff, the staff of life, is lechem. Lechem is the staff of life. The first bracha at any table should be on lechem, the staff of life. Why is Shabbos different? Why do we make Kiddush on wine? If we have yain, we make Kiddush on wine. Why do we have the Kiddush on wine? Right? Let's put it this way. And since we are making Kiddush on wine, so that we do first. Since we make a Kiddush on wine, we do it first. Right? That's obvious. Right? But so why do we cover the challahs? The challahs is the staff of life, bread. We should make Kiddush on the challahs, but we're doing it on wine. So we don't want the challahs to be embarrassed. So we cover it so it shouldn't be embarrassed, right? So the whole reason is to save the challahs from embarrassment. The challahs which have no feeling, no sensitivity, they're not aware of any embarrassment, but we're saving it from embarrassment, because in our eyes, so there's so many things in the Torah, we would feel that there's something wrong because there's an embarrassment. We would feel it, not for the challahs really, it's for us. Okay, fine. So now he's embarrassing his wife that she forgot to put the challahs there. Wow, that's just the opposite of what he should be doing. Anyhow, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have all you fellows with us, and we're just beginning the parsha of Shalom Bayis. We're going to have very special speakers in the weeks to come. So please come and join us the next Tuesday. And if there's any questions you have, so I'm now open for any questions, whatever, if we have time. Where's my boss? Joy, we have time?
We're good to go, however long Rebbe wants to go on for. So I allowed everyone to unmute. If anyone has any questions, please ask.
Okay, I don't really hear anything. So I'm going to be Mekayim Shalom Bayis and join my wife at a late dinner.
Thanks, Mash.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to all the fellows that joined. Mike, Allen, Brian, Dovir, Eli Epstein, wow, Holly Burlstein, Jay Fritta, Mickey, Morty. And somebody, P.S., whoever parked in the red 2, I don't know who that is, but take care of it.
Rebbe, I'm not sure if Rebbe's reading the comments, but Morty commented that this is like the old Prakap Shiur.
Yes, right. And I still try to give we don't call it pract apps anymore. We call it dating and marriage. And we talk about all kinds of different subjects, some subjects that can those that are nogea to this particular generation, and it's amazing the differences in the generations, just mind-boggling. But that's what we try to do. Yeah, this was really a pract apps, and I enjoyed pract apps. I missed it. Okay, fellas, have a great week, and the Mitzvah Hashem should all come and visit us in Eretz Yisrael, and may your keeping Shalom Bayis bring the Geula, so that we can all dance together in Yerushalayim and Benuya.
Amen.